So, today's episode, we are focusing on the definitions of perimenopause, menopause, as well as looking at some of the symptoms that you can experience.
So we're going to start with what is the definition of menopause. And as far as like the actual medical definition of menopause, menopause is marked as one day. It's the day that is 12 months from your last menstrual cycle. So it is just one calendar day. And then after that, you are post menopause.
Which also means that before that, you're in perimenopause.
Hmm.
So you might be asking yourself, the word menopause, where does it come from? Well, it was coined in 1812 by a French physician, Dr. Charles you guys, I'm butchering this, Gardine. He combined the word mens, which is Greek for month, and passio. How do you say that?
I don't
Maybe.
know. Passier?
Passier? Sure.
I didn't
Which
take
is
French,
Greek.
so I don't know.
Sure, I take Spanish, which is Greek for cessation. So kind of makes sense, right? Your monthly cessation ceases to exist.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You read Jen Gunter's book, right?
Yeah, so I'm deep into Jen Gunter's books right now. I'm reading Blood, and in conjunction, I'm also going through her book Menopause Manifesto. And I think she just does such a beautiful job in her writing. For one, she makes it really interesting and really, easy to follow along with, while also providing a lot of education and like more of the deeper dive into hormones and what it looks like on the medical side and also on the human experience side of things. And so I really appreciated this definition from her book, The Menopause Manifesto. So I'm just going to go ahead and quote it verbatim. And so she says, menopause occurs when there are no more follicles in the ovaries capable of ovulating. So essentially, meaning there's no more eggs. The average age of when this happens is 50 to 52. And one of the defining features is a dramatic drop in estrogen levels. And it's this dramatic drop of estrogen and other hormone changes that causes many of the symptoms and medical concerns unique to menopause. And wanted to touch on too, menopause can be induced, so it can be medically induced. People can have surgical hysterectomies, which places people in menopause, and probably more specifically, if you get the removal of the ovaries. So that places people into a surgical menopause. There's also medical menopauses like chemotherapy, radiation, some medications that can affect people's menstrual cycle as well. So it can be experienced in multiple ways.
But the truth is even going through all of those different journeys on getting to menopause, you still go through menopause, right? And that's kind of the collective experience, shall we call it? So
Mhm.
while we talk about menopause, we are going to be defining the word to encompass the whole continuum, right? So when we say menopause, we're also talking about that perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal experience. And that's kind of a big deal. So for this deep dive course that we're going to be putting together for all the people that we've been working on so hard, we call it the 101 Menopause Masterclass. And it really is the whole continuum. So even if you are perimenopause, this is the course for you to really kind of deep dive. Even postmenopausal, great course to kind of deep dive into. It's just going to be a great informational experience. Can't wait.
Yeah. And even if you're not in the perimenopause phase, if you are younger and just really want to know how to get more prepared and more educated for when you start experiencing that perimenopause phase, I mean, really, this is for anybody 18 and up who wants to learn more.
So, diving into a little bit of what exactly is perimenopause, because I feel like this word gets just tossed around a lot, remembering that it is part of the entire menopause experience, but diving into the actual transitional phase of perimenopause. So, the definition is just that, the transitional phase leading to menopause. It can start as early as your mid 30s. Oh, right? That's where that kind of shock, that scare can come for a lot of people. I know it did for me. Just that sense of, "Oh my gosh, what do you mean I'm already that old? What does any of this even mean?"
You just had a kid. How old is Poppy?
She's 2, so I had her at 38. But so many people are having babies later, right? I have friends having babies at 45. So it's this whole continuum. And coming back to that my postpartum journey and speaking with my medical providers, I was keep having that conversation and I'm still having that. Am I in post post baby or am I in perimenopause? And and I feel like it's our generation of like, it's both. It's both,
Mm.
right? Allison, do you want to go into some of the common symptoms and things that we see that kind of go, oh, maybe I am in perimenopause?
Perimenopause, it can, I mean, there's so many different symptoms that people can experience. So we're going through some of like the bigger ones, but people can start noticing irregular periods, unpredictable cycles. So whether that is more frequently or less frequently, spotting in between that you haven't noticed before. You can also experience hot flashes and night sweats in this perimenopause phase too. I mean, obviously that disturbs your sleep. You can have some like really high anxiety that wakes you up in the middle of the night, fatigue. That we start seeing maybe some body composition changes. So, whether that's a weight change or just noticing that you're holding adipose tissue in different areas, even though you're still staying active and doing the same things, you can notice this weight shift regardless of not changing any of your food intake or
It's
changing any
really
of your
bullshit.
activity level.
Sorry to cut in, but that's the
Yeah.
one that's real bullshit.
Yeah, yeah, it's challenging because you can do so many things and you feel like you're doing all the right stuff, but then what you were doing 2, 3 years ago that was working for you doesn't work anymore, and it's a challenging thing to work with. And some other symptoms too that you can experience are like vaginal dryness, decreased libido. There can be some bladder issues. Like people will start noticing they've got more potential UTIs or pelvic floor changes. Right when our estrogen is changing, our pelvic floor muscles change as well as the rest of the musculoskeletal system. But there can be, we talk a lot about those types of things as pelvic floor PTs. We definitely focus more on the pelvic floor side of things, but it's really a whole body system that you can notice. Anything that you want to add to those symptoms that people can experience?
Yeah, I mean, just jumping in then to the cognitive and emotional symptoms, everything from brain fog to memory issues, the mood swings. People just really notice mood swings that much more. And you touched on it, the anxiety and depression. So, not even in the middle of the night, but just on a regular basis. Maybe you always kind of fluctuated with your cycle, and now all of a sudden it's just heightened, right? It's changing. It's in greater.
Intensities, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And other people have never had depression and all of a sudden are, experiencing depression. The other changes just from a physical or from more of the cognitive emotional, it's also an interesting period in people's lives. A lot of people, if they chose to have babies, are done having babies, right? A lot of people are maybe in a different career position. They're in a different financial position. There's a lot of different transitions that kind of happen during this time. One statistic that I find really interesting is the amount of divorces that happen between the ages of 45 and 55. That's the
Yeah.
age. That's the age, right? So not only is it just changing within vulva owner people, but it's also affecting our relationships with our partners and how we show up to the world.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's huge.
yeah, it really is. It affects a lot of different people. So then kind of there's also all of the physical stuff about bone density and cardiovascular issues. We're going to dive in deep to those topics.
Over the next few weeks, talking about weight training that we can do to help to kind of minimize some of the effects that happen when we go through this perimenopause, postmenopause phase. Also touching on nutrition, mindset. The list could go on, but those are a couple of the things that we'll be focusing on in our continued little mini podcast series. So definitely stay tuned. Each week we will be diving in. We're going to keep these episodes fairly short, 15 to 20 minutes, just to give you a little taste of what we are going to dive into deeper in our Menopause Masterclass series with our focus on fitness and wellness series. So we have the link in our show notes to sign up to get on the wait list so that you can be the first ones to learn about the upcoming course. We are working really hard on getting that ready to go so that we can get it ready to launch.
Yeah. And just a little, you guys, it's just because I'm obsessed. My weight vest. We'll dive a little bit more into it, but I have my props here. Because you never know where we're going to land. You never know where we're going to go with it. Weight vest ready. So excited.
I have not invested in a weight vest yet. How heavy is yours?
Yeah. I have an 8 and a 16, and I use them for different things, and we'll dive more into that in our strength training osteoporosis mini class, right?
Woo. Yep. All
Awesome.
right.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate you tuning in. Again, please reach out if there are any topics that you want us to cover, either looking at our Instagram page and messaging us or emailing us.
You can email us at info@thevmove.com, or you can reach out to us on Instagram at thev.movement. All of those links will be in the show notes. And until next time, keep the V's in your life moving.
Whoop, whoop, the V's.
The information shared in this podcast by Sarah, Allison, and our guest interviews are intended for educational, entertainment, and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we are licensed physical therapists, we are not your personal physical therapists, and no patient-provider relationship is formed. If you have any health concerns or questions, please consult your medical provider. The information on this podcast or any of our other platforms is to use at your own risk.